Buckle up, excellence junkies, because this podcast is definitely for you. Welcome to Rockafuel. Do you wish that you could surround yourself with people that love to kick ass just like you? Well, come to my party, baby, and meet some of the brightest stars in the entrepreneurial galaxy, because it is my mission to give these entrepreneurs a platform to declare what they are on this planet to accomplish and to show you why they are rocket fuel. Woo! And we're live! Oh, guys, we have an amazing show for you today. Have you ever been in the shower and just had this like brilliant idea? You're just like, holy crap, and totally inspired. And you're like, okay, I must be a friggin' weirdo. Forget it, right? Well, today we're going to actually talk about how that is part of your natural intuition calling. And I am so happy to be able to deliver an expert who helps people, business owners, actually tap into that superpower that they have inside of them to actually become the visionaries that they're intended to be for their business. So it is not a mistake. It is the universe talking. And Sensei Victoria Whitfield is with us today from naturalintuition.com to tell us about the magic. Hello, Sensei.
Hello, gorgeous. Oh my goddess. This is so exciting. I can't wait to rock out with you around intuition and really owning that superpower that every visionary is born with. Let's do this, mama.
Yeah. So tell me, it's interesting, talking about this whole concept of us having this natural intuition. Like, what does that mean, by the way?
Yeah. So I believe everyone is born with their own internal bullshit meter, right? So if somebody else is telling a lie, for example, you have a special internal built-in bullshit meter of like, that person is full of it. This is not true. That doesn't make, like, they're lying. Look at them lying.
Yeah.
So I am a strong believer in everybody's internal bullshit meter. I'm a strong believer in mine. It saved my life. So with that, when we're talking about woo-woo stuff like intuition, we're really talking about that inner truth setting that every human being comes in with, batteries included, as like your standard setting.
I like that. Batteries included. Yeah, because people kind of think about, okay, this intuition stuff. And I wanted to get right into it in the beginning, because I don't want someone to be like, whoa, this is like that woo flowery stuff. I'm not going to listen to it. By the way, y'all got it too, right? So let's just talk about what this means, and so it's kind of like that hunch, or like when somebody comes in a room and like you get like a bad vibe or a good vibe, like all these things, like there are different ways that people kind of refer to their intuitive feelings.
Yeah. Some people, they'll get like the chills, or maybe they have like a message coming from their loved one of like a bird landing on a branch, like cardinals, blue jays, or still others will see repeating numbers like 1111 on the clock, or 333, like it's their own internal compass, essentially, that's letting them know, hey, you're headed in the right direction, or I'm with you, or you got this. There's that little bit of magic that we all have. But also you can get the hunches of not just of all the positive stuff, but also this is not a good deal, or you've learned that you need to sleep on it first before making a big decision in your business, because it's got a set, you're kind of like a cheesecake when it comes to decision making. The longer you sit with it, the better and the more clarity you get. This is really meant for those types of people. And by the way, this is not like a gender specific thing. Like pros have a strong natural intuition. This is not just for our goddesses in the audience now.
Yeah. Well, no, it totally makes sense. And now I know that you have a specialty in supporting business owners connect to this, but what I want to do is kind of talk about it in general for all the Rocketeers that are listening, right? I mean, we're talking to people here that love to up level their lives, right? We're the optimizers, and so this is really a superpower that all of us can tap into, and it's kind of, I mean, would you call it an additional sense that we have that we're not really using, or like how would you refer to this? Because it, like you said, it's in all of us, but it seems like some people are a little bit more in tune than others.
Yeah. Whenever I hear like the sense talk, I go, I see dead people.
I know.
Was that M. Night Shyamalan or with the little kid? But yeah,
Yes.
we can go that route for sure. Right, and shout out.
That's why it was funny. I was like, I didn't want to say, is that in a sixth sense? Because I'm like, no, I'm gonna forget the movie.
And like, but like I'm laughing, and well, yeah. I mean, and the reason why we call it a sixth sense is thanks to Aristotle. He convinced everybody as a Greek philosopher that we only have 5, whereas the ancient Egyptians believed we actually had over 300. So yeah. So, well, like we can get more into that a little bit later, but like an example of a sense that's not sight, sound, taste, touch, or smell is thermoception, for example, which is the ability to tell that something's hot versus something's cold. It's the ability to sense heat. So that, you have a sixth sense because you can tell that it's hot out.
Right.
Yeah, but long story short, I would categorize it as a sense more because of how it shows up in the body. You know, the way that you perceive your senses, such as smell, for example, is you have in your nose sensors that convert, right, those vibrations of scent into electricity that patterns into your brain, and then your brain then can codify it of like, oh, that smells like a rose, versus,
Right.
oh, that smells like Gruyere cheese. So that, I would call this a sense in that, because you have receptors built into your body for other kinds of information, not just those vibrations or lights or waveforms for your brain to interpret as like smell or sight or sound, but you can also interpret as information and direction, inspiration, insight. So there's so much more to you that meets the eye.
Right.
Transformer, baby.
I'm a transformer. So yeah, it's interesting because it's basically being able to quote unquote feel these things energetically, I guess, and then but in a way like translate that in your brain to something. And I guess it matters like what that something is. And so why are some people more in tune? Like why do some people kind of get more like downloads or hunches or inspiration in the shower versus others? What do you think?
I think they're more open to it, honestly. Like I don't believe other people are like, I don't believe anybody's better than anyone. Mm-hmm. But I do also believe that there's some people who are born like playing the piano in their spirit or something, of like, oh my gosh, like when they get around a piano, they're just like itching and their fingers are ready to go. Or my brother, for example, he's a drummer, he's a percussionist. He's just been like, he has that percussionist energy. Anyone who's listening and knows a drummer knows what I'm talking about. Like they're always drumming on something. And so he's open to that part of him as a human being that interacts with rhythm in a certain way. He's open to that, but he was also maybe born with a little bit more of an affinity for it. Does that make him better than anybody? No, it's just he's drawn to it. So that's his art. So I personally believe that we all have this capacity the same way that if you saw a drum, you could like hit it and then figure it out from there. Like you could drum on a drum. Like we all have the capacity for this. It's just some of those have like a little bit more of the affinity or are more open to it coming through them. Yeah.
Makes sense. So then when you're talking about utilizing this or connecting to this sense of intuition for your business, it's kind of interesting, right? Because usually it's usually business is kind of considered like more of like a tactical, logical kind of experience, right? And then you're talking about something that is softer, flowerier, woo, or there are a lot of words that people use to describe that kind of introspection, right, and exploration. So like, how does it apply? I mean, isn't business just very tactical and logical?
Hmm. I mean, this is an interesting question. And I call bullshit because this is
Good.
I don't know. I'm not your typical woo person. Like, sure, you like I look like one with all the flowy, glittery stuff, but at the same
Hop on the YouTube
time,
channel if you're just listening.
yeah. So, like, yeah, for those of you who are just listening, like, I've got like a flowy caftan on and like dangling earrings. I'm like, I look like a flowy woo woo type person, but no, I got 2 feet on the ground. This is about making money. This is about results, right? And making sure that we're making big shift happen. And so, how intuition can support business and how I've seen it support businesses over the last 11 years that I've been working with them directly is that, for one, it drives innovation. Nobody will have the competitive edge that you have when you tap into your own creative genius.
Mm-hmm.
Your intuition is connected to, like, the idea. It's like anybody can come up with an idea. It's another when you allow your own intuition to bring you into connection with something that is outside of the box in your industry, right? This really elevates you from just being another entrepreneur in your industry to really being a visionary. You can see past all of the BS and minutia that people are getting caught up in your industry. This is what I've seen when people really own their intuition, and really start tapping in and following those breadcrumbs of guidance, inspiration, innovation that may come out of left field, but they solve bigger problems than
Yeah.
possibly could because you're open to it.
I love that, the following the breadcrumbs, because what happens is we have like these little kind of glimpses of these hunches and the thoughts in the shower and whatever, and then we kind of tend to blow it off. It's like, okay, or that was weird, or that wasn't like a logically derived, conclusion. Why do I all of a sudden have this like desire to like go in one direction, and like what's driving that, and that might not make sense. Now, of course, entrepreneurs tend to be impulsive. Um so some of us may act on that, but what happens is, if you feel that it is impulsive and that it doesn't have clear direction, then you may not do that again, right? So I love the analogy of the breadcrumbs, because either we just keep picking them up and cleaning them off with a broom,
Yeah.
or we allow them to to guide us down a path to
Yeah.
find something.
Yeah, and so this is especially meant for someone who's looking to live outside of the box. I mean, the personality type that kind of brushes off of, oh, I got that insight in the shower. That was really interesting, is the type of person who's here to toe the line and is actually here to build somebody else's vision. Like, if
Mm.
that's what you're called to, if you just want to be a part of something bigger that somebody else came up with, cool, we need you. You're really awesome. And what we're talking about right here, not only seeing the breadcrumbs, but thinking, oh, maybe a bird should come get that. But no, like, being curious about, where's this leading? What
Yes.
why are there breadcrumbs here? What, like, the type of personality is someone who, like a rocketeer, lives with excellence, is a trailblazer, someone who wants to, all right, I don't want to live inside the box. Like, I want to either bust out of the box, or rather, I want to create my own special flavor of a box and like charge people admission fee.
Exactly. To the show, the
Yeah.
Wanda show. But so what's also interesting, I must say, from experience, is that what happens is I do believe that for some people, seeing those clues, those breadcrumbs, it's like, hmm, that was interesting, and it's okay for them to move on. Like my husband has tons of these little breadcrumbs all over and he'll be like, that was interesting, and then he moves on. I, as a personality, can't move on. Like so I think we're talking about a subset of people where like it gnaws at you. Like
Yes.
you're just like, wait a second, what is this? I've had too many of these hunches, these downloads, these feelings, these the heebie jeebies, the goosies, whatever it is, right? And it's frustrating because when you're become hypersensitive to it, and this is what I'll say as my personal experience, I feel like I had become hypersensitive to it where it was annoying. So I felt like it was a disability, right? Because it's just like I'm getting too many of these and it's freaking annoying, and it's not allowing me to think about my business logically, tactically, whatever. Now I'm getting these like lightning bolts kind of all over the place. And ever since I was little, I thought about it, that way, like, oh my gosh, this is like a disease that I have. Like I can't freaking shut up my brain or stop getting like the impulses of whatever, right? So these are the type of people that are typically like, okay, what's next? What's next?
Yeah.
What do you feel is like is the natural thing for somebody to say, like, okay, I have these feelings. What what the hell is it?
Yeah. These are definitely the type of people who are ready to have this kind of conversation, who are ready to receive what's coming through, because there's a point where you just can't ignore it. And by the way, like, we're cut from the same cloth. Like, it's when I'm insatiably curious. Like,
Yes.
when something kind of opens up, or when someone in a group of friends, the person off to the side is the one who's drawing my eye, not everybody in the middle. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on with that. Like, I'm insatiably curious. And so for me, and for us, this subset of people, like, it's more about getting education and becoming more aware of it actually isn't a disability. It's I feel really weird to say this, but it's very profitable for you to believe that there's something wrong with you. If you get hunches, if you get inspired, if you're like picking up on what's not being said,
uh
very profitable for you to actually to think that you're crazy. Not for you. It's not profitable for you. It's profitable to everybody else that you're paying, everybody else
oh,
that's
gotcha.
taking money off of you, right? Because, okay, there's something wrong with me. If there's something wrong with me, let me go try and problem solve. What do I need to buy? What do I need to go and study?
Ah.
Join. There's something wrong with me. I gotta go fix it. So it's very profitable for you to believe something wrong with.
Gotcha. So it is profitable to the industry
Yes.
for one who is extremely curious and always looking for the next, because we buy the 5 bazillion programs,
Yep.
the coaches, and then it's like, no, that one didn't work, and then that one didn't work, and that didn't work. Okay, so we're gonna get into that because that's really really in Oh, okay. You see, you guys have to watch the YouTube version of this interview because she's like shaking her hands, and yeah, it's just quite entertaining. But what I do want to thank you for is you had mentioned, like, basically is the people who are ready to start exploring this, right? It is true. We're naturally curious, insatiable, but there's something about all these clues that is friggin' annoying, right? It's you can't like brush them off or go, that was interesting. Like you're like, wow, what, right?
Yeah.
And so when we talked about this in preparation for this interview, you talked about it being like the beginning of unlocking like this visionary the capability that we have. And it was kind of like, now I met you several years ago, and full disclosure, she is a dear friend, but I am also a client. But it's because um I I needed to figure out I needed to actually transform and stop looking at it as a disability and looking at it as a strength, and figuring out how to harness that, right? And I didn't know, and you were the one. If some of you guys see me with my visionary hat, like my hashtag visionary hat, Victoria gave that to me. She gives that to her clients, because we finally ascend to that position where we realize, if I could tap into this, I could really unlock my visionary, right? So for those of you that are ready, I love it. The catchword is ready. But for those of you that are ready to start exploring that, then I invite you to text to receive this guide that Victoria put together, Unlock Your Inner Visionary. It's awesome. It's about discovering your secret weapon to rapidly growing your business and making massive positive impact in the world by finally realizing that all of these feelings and these senses are not a disability. I mean, look at that. Da, 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 this is you. I'm sorry, I'm pointing to the PDF, guys, for those of you just listening to the podcast. Just another reason why you should actually watch the video. So, so tell me, okay. Oh, and by the way, so text ready, READY, to 411321 if you're here in the US. READY, ready, to 411321. And of course, for you Rocketeers that are outside of the US, of course, you could get this massive resource by texting to +1 909 741 1321. And the catchword or the message is ready, right? If you've never texted a catchword before, of course, we're going to ask you for your email address, because how are you going to get this amazing guide? But once you provide this email, then you will instantly receive this. And tell us a little bit more about just a teaser of what you tell us in this particular piece about unlocking your inner visionary. Like, what is the next thing that people should be learning?
Yeah. So it's about normalizing and getting acquainted with this extra sense that we mentioned. So for one, and that also in there, I explain exactly how this is not a disability, but in fact an asset to your business. The action step even tells you exactly how to start using it immediately.
Ooh. Ooh, snap. Okay, so this is really important, because for anybody that is like, okay, this is calling to me. This is specifically those entrepreneurs that you naturally have had these experiences, and you perhaps have brushed off those breadcrumbs, but it annoys you because you feel like, is there something to it? And I, from experience, I could definitely say there was something to it. There was something to it. And I for way too long I had ignored it, because I'm a very like logical person. That's why I said it is in business, like logical tactical steps, right? And so for me it kind of seemed strange to like merge the two. And you helped me and many others actually recognize that there is something called an inner compass. And we should be basically listening to ourselves a little bit more. So tell us a little bit more about how you help people do that.
Yeah. So for one, it's weird. When I was in middle school, you know how they gave out those like little awards it was like a bow with like a number in the middle or something. I was like,
Yeah.
or something. I got one for I'm a good listener. And I remember when I got it as a middle schooler thinking, this is the stupidest award in the history of time. I'm a good
This
listener.
sucks.
This sucks. But at the same time, they were right. So how I help how I help my clients, right, and their teams as well is like my ability to help you listen to yourself, right, and to tune
Mm,
into others is so dialed in, right? We have different streamlined processes and procedures for helping you really get into an open to listening state, right? And our
yeah.
programs support that as well. If that's something that you want to really be tuned in or dialed in for the long haul. But that's how I really help people. I also, it all starts in mindset, right?
Yeah.
So the same way I was mentioning before, it's really profitable for you to believe that there's something wrong with you. Anything that you believe is really the realm of mindset. So if you
Yeah.
essentially believe that in order for you to make a good decision, it can't be you, like you're not trustworthy. Or if you essentially believe that, well, that vision that I saw or that idea that I got, I'm not worthy of that. That's too big. Like I'm getting too big for my britches or something. That belief, again, these beliefs are limiting your ability to really take action on the inspiration and guidance that you have. So, sure, I could turn on the faucet so that you're getting all kinds of inspiration. But if your mindset says, I'm not worthy, that's
Mm.
not for me, I can't do, like we really dive into that as well. That's also why I run challenges so that in like a super focused um, amount of time, we can really bust through 6 mindsets in particular that stand in your way. But that's really how I help people is with their mindset as well as setting up systems for long-term profound being dialed in, like focused in and listening.
Yeah, that and that really makes sense. So I want to unpack a couple things.
Sure.
Um, so I want to clarify that Victoria is also a fellow nerd. Okay, so when she right, so this is important. I mean, lovingly, right? I mean, we nerd out together all the time. We're like, ooh, that is so
Ooh,
sexy.
talk dirty to me, baby. Right.
um but I want to clarify that because I will say that when people may think about kind of exploring intuition or things that are more like softer skills, right? There is the risk that inherently the person who is a beautiful expert is not very organized in how they communicate the things and take you through the process, right? That this is a common thing, and because you were in this world of you were Reiki master, all of these things, right? Reiki practitioner, and so when you talk about this methodology, it makes sense. This is like unveiling. You're showing your nerd, right? But it's good because it is true. You can teach people certain skills, and I'm thinking through my experiences where I could get all the downloads, but if I'm not ready to accept them and do anything about it, then now it's just freaking more annoying, right? Because now I'm just learning that all this information, this intuition, all that stuff it's intended to take me on a path, but I'm not ready to go on that path, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in order to there's one thing about teaching people to lock into that, but there's the other thing of saying, are you ready to do that? And that's where the mindset work
Yeah.
um, is a great initial step. But to do the mindset work, to know that the end result is like when you're ready, Daniel's son. Right?
Yeah, this is exactly it. Like, I want to be clear. I am not for everyone, and so like the person who's actually ready to learn more about natural intuition has actually already been working on their mindset or already has gotten curious about am I like what am I energy sensitive, what is energy, all this like kind of stuff. You're already on that path.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote my book for people who are like, I have no idea what the heck is going on. Like natural intuition. Now that's the book. But for people who are listening to this podcast, entrepreneurs who like, you're already on that journey of trying to be the best version of yourself. You've already been doing mindset work, and you just want to, rather than randomly getting downloads or insights, like, maybe in the shower or once in a while, but you want to see this happen more on demand so that you can integrate it into your business. Like, that's the right type of person who would end up working with me directly. Otherwise, you could check out all of the free stuff that we've put out there over the last 11 years. But we really want to be clear that it's not exactly for everyone. It's for people who especially may have even come to the point where, like you said, it was annoying, or you're starting to feel drained from the insight and the level of visions that you're starting to see. You don't know what to do with that feeling drained.
Yeah. And so that's important. Like it manifests in a different way. Like I wasn't like, oh, I want to tap into my inner visionary and my natural intuition and the hoopla woo woo stuff, right? Like, like not at all. Like what called to me was this language that I'm using. Like I thought it was annoying. I referred to it as a disability, but there was something like in my gut that was just like, no, it's not you. But so like when I had like that bridge, that permission to say like, well, guess what? You can actually harness the power of it. You can actually utilize it in a certain way. You could actually ask your intuition and get into a meditative state to kind of tap into that purposefully. It was like, what? Because otherwise it feels like ADD. So this is interesting. Because do you feel that maybe some folks that may be experiencing ADD may kind of have a hypersensitivity to their intuition?
Oh, girl, you better open that can of worms. Oh, yeah. So let's just like pop that can of worms open for like a hot second and then close it. Because short answer is a hell yeah. ADD is this nice, big, juicy umbrella term that has been applied to a lot of very open people. I don't want to just say the word sensitive because that feels like, oh, I'm sensitive. So no, no. You're open. You're not shut down. And at the risk of going into conspiracy theories, I feel very strongly that it helps certain people and certain interest groups for you to think that you're too open or too uncontrollable or something that is outside of the box and therefore wrong, right? I think it's very helpful. It's part of the plan for you to see yourself as, I need a diagnosis and I need a pill, rather than I'm a normal functioning human being. And for whatever reason, this establishment, I'm not going to name it, but for whatever reason, certain establishments or groups of people who are interested in holding a certain amount of power would like to convince normal functioning human beings that there's something wrong with them and that they need to be chemically altered so that they can be a more acceptable version of themselves rather than fully.
Yeah, and I also do feel that it's there is a huge gap coming from the medical world. Myself, there's just a huge gap in understanding, right? But now, I mean, people can actually measure like brain waves during meditation, right? They can measure like energy that's being emitted from your body during certain experiences and such. So I think it's a slow process of kind of trying to understand that. But I can see, and I literally just threw out this question because intuitively, I was just thinking that I could see some folks that may feel like they have a mild case of this. It's because they just can't control their thoughts around these downloads. So they could be more open to receiving this information. They don't know what it is. It distracts them. And they're not seeing it as like breadcrumbs to a path, and and all that stuff. So it's just interesting. So like my objective here is to try and help my fellow Rocketeers that are listening to figure out, like, is this something, that I should explore? Now, for me, this has been rocket fuel for me to be able to, one, stop viewing my ability to be a visionary as a detriment, but also to be able to learn skills on how to harness it a little bit better. And there have been times where I shut it down. I'm like, I can't go there anymore. Like, it's too much information for me to do something about it. Rocket fuel and this podcast was one of those downloads that I had like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And if you haven't watched the video of my launch party, I talk about that. And it was something that I chose to ignore because my mindset wasn't ready to accept that piece of information. And there were times where, as a result, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to ask anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, so I'm not going to ask. So I think it's really important to note that, that dichotomy. With that being said, I know we're over our 30 minutes, but I do want to offer for that right person, right? For that business owner who has been experiencing some level of intuition, they're curious, they're insatiably curious, and they feel like this is interesting to just explore. Could this be an asset to my business? And I'm telling you, yes, from experience, but you have to be the right person, right? And so I invite you to text READY, READY, to 411321 if you're here in the US. You will be able to access immediately, unlock your inner visionary, and Victoria goes a little bit more deeply into those experiences and what that means and how you could start kind of exploring them in your business. And of course, if you are outside of the United States, you can still text for this resource. Just text READY to +1 909 741 1321. All of that will be in the show notes. And don't wait. Just do it right now. You will instantly get something. And what I love is that you had mentioned you kind of give people an opportunity to just explore it and take action on it. And you also, I want to thank you. You also give people the opportunity to get on your calendar. And so that's really important because sometimes people are inspired. And then like they get this piece of information. They're like, what do I do about it? For the right person, you're going to want to just like, okay, I need to talk through this. And so Victoria gives you the opportunity to tap right into her calendar. So I want to thank you for offering that as well.
My pleasure. And I'm reminded as you were going through sharing fabulous catchwords, it makes everything easier and so simple. I'm so grateful for you. I'm reminded of how years ago when we were talking about when you were in the state of, let's say, the listeners who are texting READY to 411321, when you were more in that, you described me as your Professor Xavier.
Yes.
Yes. Do you remember this?
I totally remember. I was like, I'm an X-Men. You're my Professor Xavier.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like that was the perfect. I mean, like, we nerd out, but it's the perfect analogy of like, what would my role be, right? What in your business is to really get you to tap into those parts of yourself that others may think is straight up mutant, like there's something but you have no idea that we have like a whole branch of the community where you are not weird at all. In fact, you have a superpower that has got to be unleashed for the greatest good of all.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for dropping that. That's awesome. I do recall mentioning that. Well, Victoria, it is evident why you are hashtag Rocket Fuel for your clients. You've been Rocket Fuel for me. And I'm so honored to be able to share what you do with our Rocketeers, because I know there are so many that can be served from that. So thank you so much for joining us. And for you Rocketeers out there, I hope that you have a rockin' day. Bye now.